like there's like momentary like almost like time is missing between these cuts. Like King Crimson
Yeah. Yeah.
mess with it.
King Crimson edited this movie. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark's movie reviews, a discussion detailing the good, the bad, and the downright ridiculous of anime movies. I'm your host, Alex, but you can call me Senpai. And joining me tonight, I have our poser extraordinaire, Natai.
It's good to be here with you, Alex, I guess.
Is it? Or are you just regretting staying up this late?
Yeah, because we totally wanted to start 45 minutes ago, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm here. I'm
Sorry.
here. Might as well use me. Some of them want to use
Oh,
you.
I'll use
right?
you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm leaving. Bye. I'm out of this recording.
We also have the person you're gonna call Chinoda.
You're gonna call me because there's a
A
ghost.
ghost. There's a ghost about.
And it has a nice butt, so I'm gonna need to exterminate it.
I'm the ghost with the
Please
most,
don't-
baby.
Please don't bust that goat.
I'm a bust on that ghost, buddy. I'm a bust on that ghost.
I thought you. I
As they were-
thought you said for a second, "Don't bust that goat." I'm like, oh,
No,
Oh.
no. Okay. As the classical song goes, busting makes me feel good.
yes, absolutely. Oh,
Classic
man.
at it.
But yeah, we are here tonight because we are going to be doing our next movie review, which was chosen by Chinoda here, and he has chosen a short film that came out in 2021 called Summer Ghost. Before we get into it, I have to ask Chinoda, because this is a movie I had never heard of before you suggested we do this.
Same.
What made you choose this?
I was racking my brain trying to find a movie that we could review, and I was just browsing multiple lists, and I came across Summer Ghost. I'm like, okay, I have never heard of this. Let me read its description. Like, I was reading multiple descriptions. I read the description for this. I'm like, oh, this actually sounds kind of interesting. So I was like, fuck it, let's go with this. So it was complete random and random happenstance that I happened to choose it.
Gotcha. All right.
Quite short as well.
Yeah, it is quite short. Not that we haven't done shorter.
Barely
films.
a movie.
We have done shorter films before on our movie reviews. I know that Natai and I did a movie review of Angel's Egg, which is particularly short.
That's right.
This actually does not even qualify as feature length, at least according to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. They consider a feature film to be one that is 40 longer than 40 minutes. And the Academy is who gives out the Oscars every year. So
Are you eating Shinoda?
I might have snacked on a chocolate real quick.
like a
God
proper
damn it.
streamer.
Fucking
Proper.
professional over here. We are
It is-
professionals.
It is funny.
I'm
to
hungry,
me that there's-
okay?
It is funny to me that there's no like established definition for what constitutes a feature film. It varies from like region to region. Like the Academy says it has to be longer than 40 minutes. The Screen Actors Guild says it has to have a minimum runtime of 80 minutes. I think the British Film Institute says that it has to be 45 minutes or longer.
The British.
But yeah, this doesn't even qualify because it has a runtime of just 39 minutes, and that includes the ending credits. If you don't include the ending credits, it barely runs 37 minutes.
It's a quick
yeah,
watch.
It's a very quick watch.
It's a quick watch, yeah.
I actually watched this twice, once in Japanese and once in English. But it is the directorial debut for an animator and illustrator known as Loundraw. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced it. Before doing this, he had other directing work with animated short films, but they were all music videos. They were music video short films for a lot of different bands. But previously, I was familiar with his work because he was the character designer on an anime known as Tsukigakure, which is quite the anime if you've ever seen it.
It's a solid rom-com from back in 2017. Was it?
2019,
2018?
something like that.
Really? Jeez.
Would highly
But that's-
recommend going back and watching it. Yeah.
That's where I knew the name from. And he is, to his credit, he's a really good character illustrator, character designer, I think. And he's a pretty good illustrator. I've seen a lot of his work. But he opened up his own production studio, anime production studio called Flat Studio, which also produced this film. And this whole story is like his idea. The script for this was written by a writer by the name of Hirotaka Araichi, who is known professionally as Otsuichi. We'll get into like the actual story and stuff here in a bit. This film came out in November 12th of 2021 in Japan, premiered at Anime Expo in North America on July 3rd, 2022. We weren't able to find any kind of budgeting or box office information, although I do know that this premiered in Japanese theaters. I was not able to locate any box office info on it. The movie is not even listed on Box Office Mojo.
Would you like to share where is it streamable, if at all?
Okay, so we had to get a little creative to watch this film. I'm not gonna lie, we'll not elaborate any further.
Well, no. I can
available.
say, yeah,
It
you
is
can buy it
available
on
to buy
Amazon.
or rent on Amazon Prime Video. It is not, at least in North America, it is not currently streaming anywhere online. That's included with a streaming plan, but you are able to download it or rent it on Amazon Prime Video. So unfortunately, you're very, very limited if you want to watch this legally. I, of course, had a Blu-ray sitting around, and that's how I watched. No, listen, I'm not too proud to say that. Listen, if there's no availability, people got to get creative to watch this shit. But with that being said, I do want to kind of get into like the art and animation here. Very interesting looking film.
It has an
It
interesting.
uses. I was gonna say it uses Loundraw's art style, which is known for spatial design, transparent and airy colors, depth of field stuff. A lot of that type of thing, and it's especially emphasized in this movie. It is interesting. It reminded me almost of a watercolor style of animation, honestly. I found it really interesting, but at the same time, I wasn't too impressed, to be honest.
No, I mean there's
a lot
like
of depth of field in this.
There's a lot of depth of field,
absolutely.
and
A lot of
also
depth of field.
it's funny. Like you have those really like simplified character designs, which I like. I really like the vibe they went with in terms of like the look of the characters themselves, but the environments have a different, like you wouldn't during the pre-roll. Alex mentioned it. It kind of reminded me of a Shinkai movie in terms of their backgrounds, and some of the time it worked for me, but some other times it didn't gel quite as much as I would hope it would. You know, both the characters and the backgrounds. It wouldn't feel like they actually occupy those spaces.
I feel like there were certain scenes where it felt like the lighting, like they went with in that scene, didn't match the coloring for like the characters in the background. And it's like, okay,
it was very off. Yeah, I agree on that.
Like
some of the
bad
editing
looking
choices
movie.
are a little out there from time.
Bro,
to
the
time.
edit in this movie is like it's like I got a whiplash from the edit in this movie in several scenes. Like in terms of like there's the structure of it, but also like we'll get to that later. But in terms of like the moment to moment editing, sometimes feels so like what's the word I'm looking for? Frantic, but not in a natural way, right? It just feels like really off-putting, and like you just get a whiplash of it. It's like you have some of these cuts. Like later on in the movie, there's like a cut of like two characters leaving the scene, and the other two are like conversing with each other, but it had like hard cuts to a different perspective that just feels so like there's like momentary like almost like time is missing between these cuts. Like King Crimson messed with it.
King Crimson edited this movie.
Yeah.
But there are some gorgeous like 3D shots in this movie. To give it the credit it's due. There's one particular 3D shot where they're all like at the airfield and they're standing on the runway, and it's like this drone shot that comes in and goes over them. It's obviously done with some 3D animation, but it looks fantastic. It reminds me a lot of that opening shot in Your Name, with the bird that comes down like that.
Oh
yeah, it does look like that. You're right.
It kind of looks like that kind of a drone shot that comes down. It's beautifully done for that particular scene. But then there's other editing choices and cinematography choices that are like, bro, what?
And also there are like quite a few storyboarding decisions that I quite liked, like how they framed the scenes. That I was like, oh, that's neat. I didn't think it was. It didn't blow my mind, but I was like, it's all right. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I hey, I can't fault it too much because number one, it's dude's directorial debut, so obviously you want to try
sure.
some stuff. And there are times, because he had directed music videos before, where this almost feels as though it's being directed like a music video.
I suppose, but like
Which
I
is
think he shined.
well,
Oh, go ahead.
because it's funny that I feel that way because I was shocked that for a less than 40-minute film, there's 4 different people who worked on the music for this film. So it's
Which
almost, which is
is
almost like
weird.
maybe the editing styles are supposed to be complementing the different music.
But that's the thing,
But
because the music suffers from the same thing that like I every now and then would get this weird like whiplash of a hard cut to a new track that would play in the background,
mm,
and it just would be super distracting. Like the music wouldn't feel as like it immersed me in the experience, but it would feel like kind of got me out of it every now and then, because
Yeah,
it
it
just feels
didn't.
so abrupt, right?
Yeah, I agree. It sort of gave me whiplash as well because like it was flowing and then all of a sudden it's something else. And it didn't lead into it properly, so I didn't quite enjoy that.
I
I
think
But it
thought the
was
music itself was fine, but just
yeah.
how they cut it, how they
yeah,
edited it was a bit weird, questionable, I would
yeah.
say.
I will say though, like back to the direction, like I do think there are like really cool like moments here. Like I like the moment where the main character, I suppose, where he opens the closet, he sees like this canvas, and then like the sort of like there's like drawings coming to life like around him in the room. Like it looks really
Yeah.
nice the way like the sketchy sort of art style of the drawings like is inhibiting the same place as him.
It's
Um,
the stuff like that, especially with the characters, was quite whimsical, almost like, very creative, because you
yeah,
have that also the one what's the guy's name, Rio,
Tomoya. Oh, Rio.
who the guy who plays basketball, like you got the hard cut to him like going back to the dude who is in like the gym playing basketball, and it's
Yeah.
like you can see what he's going for there, because like you go immediately from the bad news that he has gotten versus what he came from.
Yep.
And then like the same with the hard cut to the main girl in this, Aoi.
Yeah. On the
Who
balcony, on the rooftop.
Yeah, and who's
That
being
was a
bullied
good
by the
hard cut.
classmates.
That hardcore, which is about to, what happens there.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
was
like
actually good.
that was
Yeah.
good. That was good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
some
that.
hard cuts can be good if done very well.
Yeah, that kind of editing I thought really worked in this film. And I think some of the like the frantic editing is probably due to the very short runtime. Like you have to tell the story
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
That's the thing, though. It feels so because it's only 40 minutes and they don't have a lot of time to work with. I don't know who's responsible for that decision, but it feels like the movie is like constantly running. It's like running,
Yeah.
running. So you don't have a lot of time to breathe, and you have these scenes where you can tell like, just give me a bit more, like a lingering moment on this character's emotion, just to
Yeah.
let it sit, but it has to keep going. Which leads to, especially like near the end, is like an emotional moment which it doesn't earn, because you didn't let me sit with this emotion and just like get as invested in the characters as I wanted to, because it's just like,
Yeah.
gotta keep going.
Yeah,
Gotta keep
some
going.
of the things felt cheap because of that, and
Yeah.
it's more than likely to do with budget. Like that's what it comes down
Maybe.
to at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and the film kind of does a little bit of a fake out. At least it did for me, because you see that like initial opening scene, and like the characters are talking kind of slow and methodically, and you kind of gives you the sense that's what the whole film is going to be. But immediately after that scene, which is kind of a slow scene, the film is like a breakneck pace all the way through. After
Yeah,
that.
it just goes.
So that's why the opening scene kind of feels really out of place once you get to the end of the film.
I mean, it kind of circles back.
It circles
around to it,
back
and
though.
It-
Yeah.
I
it
do
does
like the
circle
payoff
back
of
to
it.
which is it does circle back to
Narratively.
it, which is nice, and I like the payoff, and I like the little twist at the end, which we'll probably get to here in a bit. But
I don't know if I would call it a twist, but yeah.
I mean, I would say it's a twist. I would certainly call it a spoiler if you've never seen it. But I don't know. I'm like Natai. I feel like the ending is cheapened a little bit by the fact that we didn't get enough time with these characters and their backstories and where they came from and their traumas to really appreciate the resolution that they get by the end.
Like, I will like try and be more specific. Like the actual ending, like fine with it, but before it, when there's like, I guess, which also kind of took me out of it. There's like a final confrontation in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Which they sort of frame it in a way that I'm like, okay, narratively, I get what you were going for, but it felt so, that felt so unearned, and it felt so like anti, like the entire like the emotion the movie goes for.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
goes for a very anime moment near the end of the movie, which is like,
Yeah.
haha, well, actually. And it's like, and again, they frame it again in a way that sort of makes sense, but it's kind of like takes you
Also,
out of the experience, right?
I want to point out something really quick because this is some fucking movie logic if ever I've seen it.
boy.
There's this scene toward the end where the character knows he's going to look for a suitcase that has been buried, doesn't bring any digging implements with him,
No. And they
And-
know where it is, so they knew you
and-
could have done it.
and the suitcase is buried like 5 inches under the ground. Sure.
What did you think of the ghost character, by the way? Because I quite enjoyed her performance, actually.
Yeah, that
I don't know
was
how
great.
what
I think
I
she
don't
was
know-
the strongest character in this whole movie, honestly.
It's such a shame that this movie isn't longer because I feel like with a proper length to really flesh out these characters and especially the ghost girl, Ayane, I feel like we could have gotten something really good here because like there's a kernel of a really good story being told here, but it's not given enough time to breathe.
Yeah, like I enjoyed all the characters. I was starting to care about them. I just didn't have the proper time with them. It's the unfortunate part. But each of them had good stories, good backgrounds, and I somewhat cared about them. But I just didn't have the time with them, and that's the unfortunate part. If it was a little bit longer, I could recommend this to more people.
Yeah, I really would. This would benefit from being like an hour and a half long. It really would.
At least
Yeah,
an hour, honestly.
just let the movie breathe, just
yeah.
let the movie breathe a bit.
So I guess we can talk about spoilers a little bit now. So I mean, I guess if you haven't seen it, spoilers from here on. Also, before we do there, I do want to just point out briefly because I was able to watch this in both English and Japanese. The English dub is surprisingly good for like a short film project that you wouldn't think a lot of time, energy, or effort would be put into. It's done really well. The G Kids was the outfit responsible for the distribution in North America, at least. And they did a really good job with this. So
Any standout performance you like noticed that you're like really
yes,
connected to?
the person who played Rio in the English dub is Clifford Chapin, who is also the English voice for Bakugo in MHA. He did a really good job as Rio in this particular English dub. I thought he did a fantastic job. I highly recommend for both of you because I know you guys said you didn't watch it in English.
I watch all in
Go back and
Japanese.
watch it in English. It's really good voice performances by pretty much everyone.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
All right, so spoiler time. I mentioned that it's got a kernel of a good story because I think there's a lot of people who will watch this and relate to the troubles that some of these characters are going through.
Sure.
Because the story is ostensibly about characters that all have some kind of a trauma, and it's trauma that they're either they know they're going to die or they're willing to end their lives over it.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
people are at the end of their ropes in terms of like how they view their life, which is, I mean, like not to belittle it or anything, but like some of it is a bit melodramatic, but like I do
Yeah.
like that idea of
Yeah.
them like trying to look for a new way to live their life and find new meaning in life, and that they do that by encountering this ghost who had her life pretty much cut short, and
Yeah.
she can value that life because it was taken away from her, right?
Very young, at a very young age.
Very young.
Extremely young, yeah.
Yeah, there's that scene where I guess who is ostensibly the main character, the artist guy, Tomoya. She talks about him like, you're enjoying like the idea of playing at death way too much for my liking. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. It do be that way when you're a teenage boy sometimes.
Which again, which and that sort of introspective look was something that I really vibed with in
Yeah,
the
me too.
movie, which really surprised me that by near the end of the movie, where they sort of present Tomoyo this like idea of, oh, if you want, you can like die and be a ghost here with me, your ghost waifu, and I'm like, that feels so like out of left field, as well
That's
as
your
like the
anime
whole
moment
interest.
right there.
Exactly. It felt
Yeah.
so like, and again, like it then turns into him like, oh, that's actually me trying to talk myself into thinking that death is better for me, and it's like, you didn't earn this emotionally, at least for me.
But all three of like the main teenage characters feel like they have issues, like youthful issues that I think a lot of people can relate to. I mean,
Right.
hopefully not a lot of people can relate to Rio being diagnosed with mega cancer AIDS, but yet another
Yeah.
example of someone having a chronic life-threatening illness and anime not explaining what it actually is. Thank you for this trope. It is
Yeah,
mega cancer AIDS.
we
I
got
love
a
it
brain
when
CT scan, and that's it.
I'm assuming it's supposed to be brain cancer because you see the
That
CT
was my
scan of
assumption
his
as
head,
well. Yeah.
and it's like inoperable brain tumor or something.
your anime boy has his fucking brain on a fucking board over there. Of course he's gonna die, dude. Of course. What are you talking about?
maybe he
It
has,
doesn't
like-
matter how. It doesn't matter.
Maybe he has RFK's brainworms and they just couldn't stop it in time.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
god.
No politics, Alex. Come on.
Oh my god.
Hey, worms aren't political.
Oh my god.
But I hope not a whole lot of people can relate to that. But I know there are people that go through that. They get diagnosed with a terminal illness at a young age, and like you're faced with the prospect of your life is going to be a lot shorter than you ever thought it would be. And then you got Aoi, who's been bullied. I feel like there's a lot of people that can relate to that. Probably people that have been bullied to the point where they thought about jumping off a roof. And then you have Tomiya, who is being pressured so much by his mother to like get into a good college and not pursue his dream of being an artist. Like she wants those academics. Like all she's about is academics, so she can get into the good college and have the good business life. But that's not what he wants.
Yeah. And not just his mother, his teachers as well. And you can tell probably societal expectations is what he's facing overall.
Yeah. I that setup where you see all the issues that they've had, that setup is great, and I think makes for some compelling drama, especially between the characters. It's just like we said,
Because
like,
the whole thing is that they start out as strangers. They met up somehow, and they don't explore it too much what led to them meeting up.
yeah.
you know,
I would
well,
like
they-
to see
But
more
and I
of
was-
did
that.
like that.
It was like hinted that they met on internet forums
Yeah,
to
exactly.
find ghosts.
Exactly.
But like
And I
you
did
had to
like-
put that together. Yeah.
Exactly, and I did like that as a hook of like these are actual strangers, but they get to know each other, and I did like that. I did like the dynamic between the three somewhat. Like there's like a really cute a split screen moment at the beginning of the movie to like talk on the phone together, and I enjoyed that dynamic of like the group calls that they have. But it feels like near the end of the movie you kind of lose that a bit. Especially there's when they like get together to try to find her body. It's funny. Like right before that, I thought to myself, man, aside from the opening scene, like the beginning of the movie, the like Aoi and Ryu haven't had in like any like type of verbal exchange with Ayane. And like, I wonder if they'll do a montage and just gloss over that. And they do a montage. I'm like, give me more of
Gloss
these
over it,
characters
yeah.
talking to each other, right? It's like,
That's again why the movie would really benefit from being like an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes long, where you could have that slow build up to them meeting and getting together and becoming friends, and then have more time to show them all interacting with the ghost.
Bro, even like an hour-long movie, like Look Back sort of showed you that an hour-long movie could like work really well, and you
tell a
wouldn't
good,
need more than
compelling
that.
story.
Yeah, like you don't have to like go for a 90 minutes runtime. An hour-long movie also works just fine. So like even more like a 10, 15, 20 minutes extra, like Again,
Yeah.
I wanted more, which means that I was invested. I did like it, but it just
Mhm.
you felt that it was just running.
We just didn't, yeah. That, and I feel like that's the point we just are gonna keep coming back to.
Yeah.
There could have been more, and it could have been better because there could have been more, and that's the
Great.
biggest fault of the movie.
That is the biggest fault of this movie, that there's enormous potential here with the story that's trying to be told. It's just there's not enough time to tell the story that can be told from this idea. But I want to go back really quick to what I said. Like, it's what I consider a twist, because we start out, the very first scene is actually a scene we get back to later, which happens after everything that happens with the ghost.
Yeah.
And you find out in that scene, Ryo's actually dead and he is a ghost.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like the
I
circle.
like
back
that
thing.
reveal a lot. I do.
I really like that reveal, plus the fact that they actually set that up throughout the movie. They're like, oh, he has probably brain cancer. He's dying. And then he's like, yeah, they gave me like 9 months. I don't even know if I'll make it to next spring. And
Yeah,
then,
that
like,
build
you
up.
see him make it to next spring, just barely, but in the hospital. And then you get to the final scene where, no, he's a ghost. He died. He did pass.
No, but
I
it's
thought-
cute that they actually, because he mentioned he won't see the cherry blossom again, and
Yep.
I did like the sentiment where they were like, no, because he believed he could be cured, he helped him push further than people anticipated he would survive, right? Like,
Yeah.
so the bittersweet sentiment, you know.
I legit
It
thought
is.
I legit thought when that scene started to play out toward the end and he that reveal happened, I'm like, is the twist here at the end going to be that they've all been dead all along? God damn it!
Oh, God.
Nah,
And this is
Fucking
how they
lost.
then this is how they like cross over by like facing all their unresolved traumas. Because ostensibly, that's what the ghost character Ayane has. Like, she has an unresolved issue that she needs to solve. Because they imply heavily at the end that she's like crossed over. Because there's that shot back at her mom's house where she opens the door after the doorbell rings, and there's just the pendant that she was wearing sitting there
Yeah.
at the door. So it implies that she's like, her trauma's been resolved, her unresolved issues are over, and now she's finally like crossed over to the afterlife.
Could you imagine they just left the luggage there open? She opens the door, it's just the body of her.
It's
dead
the body
daughter.
that
Oh my
decomposed
God,
body.
that would have been horrible. For a moment, I thought that's exactly what was going to happen. I'm like, no fucking way they're going to do that. Thank God that didn't happen. But for a moment, I thought that's what was going to happen.
I thought it was going to be something like more like down to earth. It was going to be like policemen at the doors, giving her the news like, we found your daughter's body.
Someone give us a tip.
Which is
on this
probably
luggage.
what eventually happened.
Yeah, I can imagine that's something that eventually happened, but I do like that implication at the end. Like, she finally got over her unresolved issues because of these people, and she was finally able to like cross over and live a peaceful afterlife.
Yeah.
That I like.
And you know what? Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm happy for her for that. I'm happy to see that character line resolved like that.
There doesn't seem to be any justice for the person that did it, but
Chinoda's here just for the dead waifus. Come on, you know that.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
unfortunately, that's
I
just
mean-
how things work
I mean-
out sometimes.
I dig it. I tap that.
You dig it out of the ground because she's
Oh,
Well, you know how it goes.
dead. Listen,
Jesus.
sometimes it just don't even need to be a warm body. Sometimes a cold body will do.
all right, we're going.
It
to
has been getting
necrophilia.
warmer lately. You know, you just need a bit of
Oh
more
my
chill.
God! No, come back!
She can't come back, Shinoda. She's dead, and that's the way I like it.
so
We're getting
that's
off
why
the
you like
rails.
Wiz so much.
No! That's a
Love
Konosuba
her.
joke.
I mean, I like both of her.
She's got two big old personalities staring you right in the face.
Anyway, overall, I did like this movie. I thought it had a fine enough story. It could have used more length, but it was fine for what it was. I wouldn't go around recommending this to anyone, honestly, just because it's short length and there's not enough time to truly appreciate it, but I did like seeing it for what it was.
Yeah. I guess we can give our scores now. I don't really think we have anything else to say about this film, do
Nope.
we? I
No,
I'll
don't
go
think so.
first. Like I'm gonna be a little more charitable than you two because I think on a technical level, there's a lot to kind of like about this, even with the wonky editing from time to time. For a directorial debut, I will give um, Landral a little bit of leeway, a little bit of rope, and I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. I do think that there's potential in this story. I would like to see this potentially remade as a feature length film. To get more time with the characters and to get more backstory and just more stuff because it's a shame. There's a great kernel of a story here. It just doesn't have enough time to breathe.
Colonel
Yeah.
Sanders.
Colonel Sanders, yes, there's a Colonel Sanders of a story.
Look at
So
all that chicken.
I do know in February 2023, Seven Seas Entertainment announced that they were licensing a novel and manga adaptation, and they did actually release that the same year. So it might have more content. I might go check it out eventually just to see if there's anything more to it.
Yeah. It's worth pointing out that the novels that came out are both written by the film scriptwriter as well.
Oh,
And one of them is, I think it's a novel. It says here that it's a novelization that expands on the film's story. And then there's also the second one, which is a spin-off novel.
Yeah, so a little bit more content out there if you're truly interested.
Yeah.
cool.
So what do you guys, Natai, what do you give this out of 10, sir?
So I gave it a 6. I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was. I think I would recommend it because it's such a short movie. Clocking at 40 minutes. I think it's like a quick watch. You can just see if you vibe with it or not. Because there are things to like about it. Again, some of the directorial flourishes I really enjoyed. Some of them I did not. I there's some visual effects in this movie that I don't understand. Like some visual like shit that looks like it's put in After Effects and like I don't get it. But I did like there's an emotional core that I obviously like was invested in and wanted to be good. But yeah, for me it's a 6.
You mentioned
Go
After
check it
Effects.
out.
There's that scene where they're walking through the art gallery. I'm like, was this done in Flash? What the fuck?
No, bro, like there's this moment that it happens twice when you use this like effect that sort of simulates like a lens flare. Like it's like a smudge on the screen, and I'm like, that's not it, Chief. I don't
I like how
into
when
it.
you said smudge on the screen, your camera immediately unfocused.
Must be the work of an enemy stand.
All right,
Daga
what do you
Kotowaru.
Shinoda, you recommended this film, so what do you give it?
I give this a 6 out of 10, same score as Natai, but I wouldn't recommend it to people, honestly, even though it is so short. I thought it was fine enough, honestly. It had some good shots, some interesting moments. Story was actually pretty good, definitely had potential. Um, it's but overall package, I would say no. You can watch something else. Don't waste your time on this, personally speaking. If you have nothing else to do and you're kind of curious about it, yeah, sure, go for it. It's a short thing anyway, but I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. There were some really cool shots that I did appreciate. Them flying through the sky. There was this especially beautiful shot of the ghost and our main boy, where they're facing each other. One in this sea realm, and the guy on like the land level, and you see them talking to each other, and it's contrasting colors. It looks really cool. So some cool shots like that were there, and I did like that, but just overall, it wasn't enough to make up for the overall movie.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's fair. It is a shame, just
yeah.
because there's so much that could be done to make this, or not really so much, so little that could be done to make this a much better film. But yeah,
But yeah,
Thank you for
6 out of
recommending
10.
it though. Thank you for
Yeah,
the
no,
recommendation.
I'm
though.
glad I found it.
Yeah.
It was unique and interesting, so I did like that aspect of it at least.
Something different than the films we typically review, for sure.
Sure, yeah.
Speaking of which, the next movie review will be chosen by Natai. I don't know if you've decided what we're going to be reviewing yet. But
I haven't decided, but we'll cooking something. We'll get to it when we'll get to it.
but for those of you who are curious, we always announce what the new movie review is going to be in our Discord server before we put out the review. Usually we try to do a watch party in our server. We can watch it. I tried to do one last night in our Discord server, and immediately when I started it, the power went out for about 2 hours. So,
Ripperoni.
I might try and do it later tonight in our Discord server because I know this episode's not coming out for a couple of weeks at least. But anyway, we try to do watch parties for all the movies we review in our Discord server before we do the recording. So if you are not already a member of our Discord server, check for a link for it down below. Thank you all for dropping in to watch us talk about this. Please do not forget to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. Comment, let us know if you watch this movie, what you think about it. And perhaps give us suggestions for movies we should review next. People have suggested lots of stuff that have ended up becoming episodes. So
That's
your
true.
suggestion could be next. You can also check down below where you can find all the links to all the stuff Anime Club After Dark does, as well as the link to our merch store if you want to help us out that way. With all that being said, I have been your host, Alex, and we will see you next time. Say goodnight, guys!
Good night, guys.
I'm a ghost.
What was that?
I'm a